Okay, let's try and get a meteor game in. So TableCaptain. Let's play D4, I think. A bit more positional, pawn structure based play. Usually, I mean statistically. So he's playing an aggressive setup. I'm going to play for knight F4, I think, and D5 against this Leningrad Dutch kind of setup, emphasising E6 and maybe trying to clamp down on E5. So he's going to play E5 anyway, maybe. Right, so far, I think I'll eye the queen, maybe try and play E4. I'm not going to waste the move yet with H4. I think there was a Muswell Hill match where someone won with the black side on our team, and H4 didn't really help White's cause. It just weakened these light squares a bit more and gave G4 as an even more important square for black. So I know H4 in principle locks down G5, but it also does, mean that if you want to cover G4 later, you will have to play like F3, and it doesn't really work playing all these pawn moves. Statistically, you'll just get, blown to bits. Especially if you're playing people that are tactical in nature, they'll often find, weaknesses when you play pawn moves. So that's something to avoid. Unnecessary pawn moves anyway. Okay, so the F file here is looking as though it's going to be dangerous. Can I just take EF? Bishop F5, Knight E6, takes. Am I going to get in trouble with Knight F2 at some point? Probably, in the discovered check with this rook. So if I play H3 here, though, the knight could go to E5 and attack C4. So I'd say black has a pleasant looking position. So how would I undermine it? Say D takes, B takes, I don't know, something radical C5. I think that's interesting to consider, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try and tear open these lines to try and exploit this knight, this pesky knight, somehow. I don't know exactly how. But if it's coming to E5, I want to try and... So I'm sacking this pawn to try and open up some pieces. Like this queen could come to B3, for example. Okay, F2 is vulnerable. Don't want to waste any time protecting F2, ideally. I don't want to waste a move with H3. A check here is almost probably useless. King moves, then there's nothing. However, with takes, he's lost control of E5 a bit. So maybe there's more justification now for E takes F. I think I will play E takes F. So we've got the rook eyeing the queen here. So, in fact, check might be useful. Queen B7 would be annoying. I think I'm going to go for that. Although F2 and Bishop D4 with that knight there, I don't know. Bishop E3. Well, let's throw this in anyway. So this is starting to get hairy, of course. So I'm hitting that knight on C7 and the pawn on C6. I really don't like this bishop pointing and my backward development here on the queen side. How do I get the rook and bishop to be useful? Something like H3, as long as F2 doesn't happen, knight F2, then maybe bishop E3 is better than watching for bishop D4s happening. So I think I'm going to have to play H3 and bishop E3. Forget this C6 pawn. I think I just want to kick this knight. But then knight F2 and G5, I don't know if he's got time for that. Even so, bishop E3 there would solve the queenside problem. These pieces need to get out of the box still. Alright, he's thinking anyway. That's good news. Getting a bit of time on the clock. Is he thinking about bishop D4, just sacking the knight? Anyway, I'll get rid of this knight now. I expect probably knight F2 though. Realistically, I think knight F2. If he plays knight E3, well, maybe just bishop E3. Also, there's bishop C6 to consider. Okay, I think it'll be a relief if the knight moves back. Knight F2, King F2, maybe we'll start calculating this. G5 or bishop D4. In fact, bishop D4, I don't know. Bishop E3, okay, there's a bit of relief now. Or maybe I'm deluding myself, I don't know. I could flick in G4. Oh no, he's got knight D3. I think bishop E3, as mentioned before, I'm going to get the queen side working. Although rook B8 is not possible at the moment, still queen C7. Queen can't be harassed at the moment. Okay, I've lost my ability. Okay, knight h5. He's got queen h5. So he's coming in maybe to the d3 square, but he's weakened his king side a little bit. So maybe that can tell later that weakness that he's created in principle. Although rook b8 now is becoming a threat. So how about something like f4? Alright, I'll throw in f4. Try and kick this knight. Although g takes looks as though I'm going to be asking for it on the g file. Knight takes f4 might be better. Okay, or bishop f2. Okay, bishop f2. Trying to eye this diagonal still. Although knight b2, and he's on c3. So it's a bit of a hair-raising position. I don't really know what's going on anymore. Queen a6 will beautifully attack the knight. Okay, I think I'll do that actually, given his kick the queen. Hopefully I'm not losing the queen just yet, although he's lining that up. What about knight c1 here? Can I play knight c1? So attacking that bishop. If the bishop moves, I'll take the knight. Also, this knight's in pre as well. So this bishop and this knight. Certainly more exciting than the previous game, whatever happens. Maybe g takes, knight takes, f3, maybe I just move back. F takes, maybe I just do that. Bishop g3, I mean bishop d4, maybe I just move the king. Alright, so it looks as though some pieces are hanging here after this retreat, knight c1. So maybe this is not a bad move. Okay, two pieces are still hanging now after munching that knight. But do I want to allow bishop d4? Well, bishop g3 also attacks the rook on c7. On the other hand, if I can't move the bishop anywhere useful, so I think I will go for this, and king h2 to try and shield my king. Okay, so the g file is now prominent for usage, but he's still got two knights and pre. So is he going to try and mow into my king now with rook g8 and rook takes g3? Maybe knight e4 to protect that. I'm starting to sound like a horse racing commentator. I don't mean to. Things have speeded up in the position. Okay, let's just win this other knight and try and protect the king now. He's going to try and murder my king maybe with like knight f5 and rook g8. Okay, so I've got bishop takes d6 winning it another piece, but then maybe rook takes g2 and queen g8. I can't really get my queen back in the game. Knight f4 looks as though that might be useful. It at least protects the rook on e6. So I think I'll flick this in just to protect that rook on e6. But I should really get this other rook, ideally I think, to e1. If I get the other rook to e1, I'll be threatening rook d6. Okay, so more attacks. Okay, I'm just wondering. I'm going to get thumped probably with rook g2 soon. Okay, I'm going to protect the knight like this, the bishop like this with the knight. So these knights, that one's protecting that, that one's protecting that. Is there going to be carnage on the g file soon? I hope not. Or rather, I'm prepared for it, because this rook and this bishop can't go into the attack straight away. Can I get my queen now? I'll lose this one. Can I just protect the knight on f4? I think I will. So the knight's protecting that. That's protecting that. Rook g3 doesn't look too dangerous. If I can just get my queen back into the centre with queen e2, I think this is going to be okay. I think this might be all over. Maybe queen d3. Or am I speaking too soon? Queen d3 protecting now g3. Okay. Can I don't know. He hasn't got much time. Can I just play rook? Rook takes e5 just to reduce the attacking potential. Okay, now just get the queens off. I know it's chicken, but getting the queens off, I've got material advantage. I'll play knight e6 to force him to, so I don't even have to undouble the pawns. Okay, now I'll go in for the kill myself, I think. So rook f7 and bishop e4, but he's going to stop bishop e4 with a pin. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll march this pawn to h6. He's lost on time anyway. So okay, let's have a look. That was more exciting. Actually, I want to try and I'm losing one of the buttons, which is usually over here. So I can't easily sort of review the game like this. Or maybe like this. Sorry, I'll just move this scroller here. Just being silly with navigation. So this is a typical sort of feisty Leningrad Dutch Blitz game probably, but I omitted H4. Perhaps the most important thing about this is that omission. It reminds me of a recent book on the King's Engine, actually, Dangerous Weapons in the King's Engine, where even the move D6, as the King's Engine player, I take that for granted, but this book is actually talking about omitting D6 to speed up things. And so you know, omitting pawn moves is something very interesting to consider as a general sort of point of investigation, because pawn moves create weaknesses anyway. So in this game, it seems, you know, I had more flexibility anyway to cover G4 now, because I had the potential for H3. Now here he's just tactically vulnerable after this key move. I hope you enjoyed it, and please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.